Wisconsin's allergy season is getting longer. Spring arrives earlier and fall sticks around a little longer. It's all caused by climate change, which is the reason for your sneezing if you suffer from allergies. Just how much longer is the sneezing season now? And what can you do if you have seasonal allergies? We have some advice from an expert. Dr. Gary Stephen is an allergist at Allergy, Asthma, and Sinus Center in Greenfield, and he regularly monitors pollen counts in the Milwaukee area. Thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So how much longer is the allergy season now? And how quickly has this change taken place?
When I took a look going back through all of the data, we started counting pollen in 1995. I used the data mostly for the last 20 years because 25, 30 years ago, it was so much lower than it is now. It doesn't really help to add that into any averaging. So when you look at the last 20 years, the length of the tree pollen season has increased by about 30%. The peak tree pollen burden when you go outside is up about 50% over the last 20 years. And this is something that we've known about for a long time, from greenhouse experiments done long time ago. We know that when you grow plants in higher temperatures, they will produce more pollen per plant. They will produce their pollen for longer. And now it's just happening enough that we're actually seeing it out in the wild.
So it's not only that we have more days where we have pollen. The pollen that we have is more intense?
Correct. And we're also getting more. There's an artificial sort of lengthening of the tree pollen season because we have started to see an invasive species called privet, which is classified as a tree that is a late pollinator. And so we have to group that in with the tree season, and privet pollinates into June. And so we started seeing this about 4 or 5 years ago, and so we've started to add privet to our allergy testing panel. We never used to. We didn't have it. You always do regional allergy testing. You test for the types of allergens that are prevalent in your region, and so we never tested to privet. We actually had to add that in because we now have privet in Wisconsin.
Allergies, seasonal allergies, are not just an inconvenience. A quarter of adults, 19% of kids suffer from seasonal allergies, and they can really be quite disruptive.
Absolutely. They will interfere with activities. People stay home from work. There were some studies done years ago when we were developing the non-sedating antihistamines that actually showed children at a disadvantage, and because the tree pollen season is right around final exam time. And that was one of the big thrusts for developing non-sedating antihistamines, because not only were they able to show academic performance decreases when kids are suffering from allergies, that the older generation antihistamines that cause drowsiness cause even further academic decline.
So the pollen's out there. It's going to be out there. What are some of the things that we can do to minimize the impact that seasonal allergies have on us?
We always like to talk about non-pharmaceutical options to manage allergies, which is mostly avoidance, identifying, getting into the allergist, identifying what it is that you are allergic to, help you figure out how to minimize your exposure to that. But the pollens are a little different. We're not advocating anybody stay inside or live in a bubble. And so in order to participate in the activities that people want, you need to use the medications. For those people who don't, you want to use medications. So we have immunotherapy, which is kind of more of a natural thing. We're not using any pharmaceuticals with that. With the allergy desensitization, it is all about route of exposure. When you inhale allergens, you react to them and have symptoms. When we bypass the body's first line of defense and inject it under the skin, the immune system processes it differently, and you tend to shut down the production of allergic antibodies. And that's why the desensitization works so well, because it is making people less allergic, which we can't do with medications. Medications just try to push down the inflammation that you get from this reactivity. And with the desensitization, we're trying to eliminate the reactivity in the first place.
Are there some things that people can do short of medication to lessen their exposure to allergens? You don't want to stay inside, but are there some things you should do if you go outside?
Masks work. Nobody's doing that. Nobody is going to wear a mask outside in spring when you want to be inhaling the spring air. And surgical masks aren't even good enough for that. You need a KN95 or an N95, which do work well with the particulates when we get the wildfire smoke. That's a different issue. But for pollen, no, you need to, and like I say, we don't advocate staying inside, and you need to use the medications.
All right. Well, we will take your advice and keep the Kleenex handy. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Stephen.
And you're welcome.
And thanks to all of you for being with us. Be well, stay safe, and we'll see you next week on Connect MKE.